This week on Aristeia 99, we're going to be talking about Koorie Queen. Koorie Queen is the last of the Legendary Bahadur. She weighs in at 5 initiative, 4 movement, 5 energy, and 3 health. She is a little squishy. Her defense comes in at a blue, a yellow, and comes with a bang. This is going to be actually rather helpful for her switch. Her brawl is an orange, so she's pretty good. Her disengage is actually a fair bit unique in that she has 2 yellows and an automatic success. So this means she actually has a very good chance of getting away, but she also has a very good chance of getting her switch as well. Speaking of which, her switch is for 2 bangs. You may impose the hidden state on yourself. Displace yourself. Now, that is all well and good. And just when you look at the fact that she's a ranged character that is able to put hidden on herself, that's kind of cool. That's some really good stuff you can do with that. So first off, we're going to look at Boomerang. That is her 1 attack. It is a red, it's a blue, it's 2 yellows. It has range 2 to 6, line of sight required. Now, what's interesting here is there's nothing particularly special about this in terms of damage necessarily. But what comes up fun is her switch for Boomerang is a shield and a bang. After the resolution step of this attack, perform bounce once with no action points cost against a target within 1 to 3, no line of sight required, of this target's attack. And this right here is actually really amazing. This is actually really fantastic. So first off, if you can get hidden on yourself to start off with, or have hidden, that means she can actually do Boomerang without risk of damage coming back to her, because she's hidden. That's just one of those fun, great things. But now when you get the Boomerang attack, range 2 to 6, and you can do bounce, which is normally a 2-point ability, you also get to do it close by and line of sight's not required. Let me tell you, the havoc this will wreak when opponents are close together. This is actually really awesome. But to get into that, we need to discuss next would be bounce. Bounce is 2 points. It is an orange, a yellow, range 1 to 4, no line of sight required. If it is successful, and this is not an attack, this is a skill, you impose the dazzled state to the target. Dazzled is one of my favorite states. I actually don't use it very much myself, but it's phenomenal. But with that one, if you do its switch is a shield and a bang, you can inflict 1 damage to the target. Now you kind of looking at this, so the range of Boomerang is 2 to 6. Not good up close, but she's got a very good disengage. You can go up to range 6, but on top of that, if an enemy is within 1 to 3, no line of sight required, that kind of effectively makes the threat range she possesses up to 9 hexes away. That's Luna doesn't have that. That is phenomenal. So when you are playing with Koorie Queen, yes, she has an attack. That's great. But really, really, really what you are hoping for is that switch. If enemies are close together, you want that switch. Bounce is phenomenal. And if you can get the damage, it's kind of like sprinkles on top of the ice cream, but getting the dazzled state, and this is actually one thing that's very good about the errata, the wikis. I'm actually looking at the card, and it's not dazzled, it's actually stunned. So getting the stunned state on the target is fantastic, and that is something you should really be looking for opportunities for, because that's just such a detrimental state to your opponents. I can't imagine why you wouldn't want them to be stunned. So this is, again, Koorie Spelling has the wonderful wiki and errata, and maybe they'll do a reprint of these cards one day or something, I don't know. We'll see. So her orange passive ability is called Feral Spirit. At the beginning of the action steps of your activations, impose the hidden state on yourself if there are no enemy characters within range 1 to 3 line of sight required. So, why is that good? Well, why that's good is actually, I would hope, is just obvious. That Koorie Queen likes to be hidden. So you keep your distance, you can get hidden. If you have to disengage, you might become hidden. You do boomerang, you might become hidden. Now, because of how the states step works, yes, she will become hidden, but it'll also go away if she attacks, which is fine. That is completely fine. She doesn't get to keep it per se after the state step. That's when all the effects that were applied, they flip over. So she doesn't get to keep it per se unless you can somehow get it during her defensive roll. But the simple fact of the matter is, you want to be able to do boomerang with relative impunity, and you don't want ranged characters like Luna or Bill or even Hannibal to be able to take her out. That is kind of awful. Now, the double-edged sword, of course, being is when you're hidden, neither enemies or allies can have line of sight to you. So you do want to be careful that it's not universally the best thing ever, but it is pretty awesome. So we're going to look at her first tactics card, Huntress Queen. During the declaration step of your boomerang attack, very specific, select the target, placing a Huntress Queen token on their character card. Until the end of the round, the effects from actions and tactics against this target, which inflicts at least 1 damage, will inflict an extra damage to the total. How do you not like that? Now, again, Boomerang does have that beautiful red there. Blues and yellows both have chances of doing damage. So this is a nice little extra on top of anything you're doing, anything you're benefiting from. So I'm a big fan of uncontested damage. This isn't quite as good, but it is very good. And again, it's like, read it. Until the end of the round, the effects from actions and tactics against this target, which inflicts at least 1 damage, will inflict an extra damage to the total. That's everybody, y'all. If you're used to, MMOs, this is like putting a hunter's mark on somebody. That is fantastic. This is one of those things that you kind of want to say no to. If you can get it out of their hands somehow, that's great. But no, that's a great card, depending on the scenario, depending what you're wanting to do. And it's a very team-focused. The one drawback, of course, is going to be what's your turn order. The earlier she starts the initiative order, the better. This is not something you necessarily want to play if she's the last character going. Obviously, there'll be exceptions to that when you just need a little extra damage. But generally speaking, the more of your teammates can take advantage of that, so much the better. And the scary thing is it says tactics, so I'm kind of wondering, oh gosh, how many of those poison cards? Ugh. Hideous. Next up is going to be Hidden in the Sand. During the action steps of Koorie Queen's activation, if you are imposed the hidden state on yourself, translation, you may place yourself on a free space adjacent to a block space within range 1 to 4, line of sight required. Movement shenanigans are always good, and this is basically going up to her full movement, which is always useful. That means you can save your energy for something else. This does require you to be mindful of where you are, what your possibilities are. So I do like the card. I just would be a little selective about this one. How do I want to play? What's the scenario? What's going on? So, and maybe you could even use it to possibly get the heck out of dodge, and that's always a valuable thing as well. Although the fact that you have to be hidden does mean you can't do it from a distant adjacent situation. So, but yeah, we'll see. Special spin is her next tactics. At the end of the resolution step of your boomerang attack, impose the stun state and inflict 1 wound to each enemy within the range 1 to 3, no line of sight required, from the target of the boomerang. This is essentially a nuke when you look at it. And again, once you consider the range, so if there are 6 away and you can get within a 3 hex radius every enemy, that is fantastic. You probably won't get every enemy, but if you can get 2 or 3, that's just fantastic. They all take uncontested damage. They get stunned on top of that. There's nothing in this card that gives you any reason why you shouldn't put no on it immediately. If you can get this out of the hand, get rid of it, that's great. But likewise, if you're a Koorie Queen player, this might be a card you want to figure out a way to fish back into your deck or into your hand. This is just a beautiful, amazing card, especially like the first time I got to have real fun with Koorie Queen, and I say that from the recipient standpoint, was in King of the Hill. And everyone's so clumped together in that scenario that Koorie Queen is just absolutely horrendous. You don't necessarily want her to be on the other team for that scenario. Finally, we have Whispers from the Desert. At the beginning of the action step of Koorie Queen's activation, until the end of the round, whenever an enemy within range 1 to 3, no line of sight required, attacks an ally, you may perform a free bounce against them immediately after the resolution of the attack. So, oh my gosh, that's beautiful as well, isn't it? She's just got these amazing, fun support tactics that I just can't... trying to decide which one I'm going to pick, which one I'm going to use, is actually really hard for me. But again, it's contingent on where the turn order is. Is she going first? Is she going last? The longer it goes, the more mileage she gets out of it. Likewise, the closer they are, the more mileage she gets out of it. You definitely want to be relatively close to whoever your partners are in this situation. That's Koorie Queen. I'll be perfectly honest, she's actually flown under the radar for me up until we started playing King of the Hill. Once that kind of shook me up a little bit, it was like, holy crap, she's scary. I mean, you can look at a card and say, oh, that's kind of scary, but it's not until you actually get nailed with it in game several times that it's really obvious. Oh my gosh, she's scary. She's a great character, great support character. She can still do damage on her own, but it's the way she can debuff enemies, and it's just so great. It's wonderful. She's a great character. I think she actually does quite well in the AGL standings. Not that you should necessarily care about that. You do want to think about, how does she fit in with the scenarios you enjoy playing. But yeah, she's a very solid character, and certainly the way she's set up, in that she doesn't necessarily do a lot of buffs directly. She's not handing out focus or healing or anything like that, but she helps the survivability of your team by making the other guys worse, or by making them leery of attacking enemies, attacking your team. So I'm quite excited. And now that we've done with the Legendary Bahadur, guess what? It's the Chemicals Brothers next. We'll see you next time. Please like, comment, and subscribe.